Hello, I'll give a little bit of time for people to join. Hello, we are live for Mega Money Mondays. This is where we go live bi-weekly and we talk all things money. We do free money coaching. I answer your most burning money questions, okay? If you want to submit a question, make sure you are in our free Facebook group. And if you see me looking over this way or this way, it's because I'm live on Instagram and Facebook at the same time. So if you want to join our free Facebook group to ask questions, get support from the other babes in the group or myself, you can search Master Your Money and Build a Bank Account That Never Stops Growing on Facebook. Post your questions in there. We will add them to the list of questions to be answered on the live. Or if you're tuning in live right now, you can comment your question and I'll answer live. I love it. So happy to have all of you guys here today. We are getting so close to the freaking holidays. It is amazing. I hope you are all excited to have some time off and not spending too much money unnecessarily on shit that you don't need. In today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about investing. A lot of the questions that we have for this week were on investments, but to start off, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about what this program is, so Mega Money Mondays, and a little bit more about our other program, our 3-month group coaching program that we're going to be closing up shop for. If you want to get in for January, we're going to be closing up for the holidays soon. So if you have not already gotten in your application and you're like, oh my God, I want to apply, make sure you head over to the link in my bio so that you can check out our program. If you've been wondering what that program is about and what it is that we actually teach, you can go into the link in our bio again and check out our free ebook. It's the Making Money Moves method. It is the exact method that I used to pay off $40,000 of debt and build a $500,000 net worth in my 20s, and it's free. So there are literally no reasons why you guys should not be going over and grabbing yourself a copy. All right. To start off with, because I know a lot of our questions right now are regarding investments, and investing is amazing. However, there's been a little bit of controversy this week on TikTok. So I don't know how many of you here follow me on TikTok, but we posted a video. In it, I talked about, hello, Darlene. In it, I talked about the unrecoverable costs to owning a home and how sometimes those can be higher than the unrecoverable costs of renting. And I made a lot of people angry with this video, a lot of homeowners angry. But I wanted to, talk about this a little bit to, first of all, set the record straight. I don't hate real estate. I'm a real estate broker. I love real estate. I think that real estate is amazing when you use it as a tool. The biggest mistake that I see people make when they're buying a property is that they treat or they think of their primary residence as an investment, when in reality, I love you, Darlene, thank you. They think of their primary residence as an investment, when in reality, they did not buy that home with wealth building in mind. Can you make money off of real estate? Yes. Can you lose money off of real estate? Yes. And I think the problem is people who make money are going to be the first to come out and shout about it at the top of their lungs and be like, I made so much money off of my house, which is amazing. But the people that lose money aren't really talking about it the same way. It's like the same way as, people that are making a lot of money in stocks. They're not really talking about their losses or those day traders and that kind of stuff. So I think number one, that's important to remember. And number two is that most people go into buying a house blind. They go into buying a house blind, right? And they're like, oh my God, I love the kitchen. I love the neighborhood. I'm going to spend all this money on this house because I love it and it makes me feel good. And that's amazing. And I'm not here to tell you that you can't spend money on things that make you feel good emotionally. However, when we are making the largest purchase of our life, how many of you are going to make a purchase larger than a few $100,000 or $1 million for a property? I don't think that there's many of you that are going to do that in your lifetime. So if this is the largest purchase in your life, don't you think that we should be going into it with our eyes wide open? Don't you think that we should be going into it and treating it as an investment, okay? And as an investment, we need to have an exit strategy. We need to know exactly how much money is going into it, how and if and when it can make us money. There are two ways really that a house can make you money. Number one is through the appreciation, meaning the value of the property goes up over time. And number two is if you're renting it, you can make money from those monthly rents. So the biggest thing to remember is we want to treat that house as an investment. So for instance, when I bought my first property, I made $150,000 in 2 years. This is a net amount, okay? When people are like, oh my God, I bought my house for $150K and then I sold it for $300K 30 years later, that's great. They didn't just make 150 grand though. They're not taking into account the fact that they had interest payments over that 30-year loan. They're not taking into account the fact how many times they had to redo the roof. The roof's maybe $10,000. Maybe they redid the windows for 20 grand. Maybe they had to fix a leak in the foundation. You need to take a look at all of those maintenance costs, okay, and all of those other costs associated, your land taxes, like whatever it is that you're putting into that property that you're not getting back, that is an unrecoverable cost, okay? I specifically bought my first home with wealth building in mind, understanding that that was not going to be my forever home, and that I was going to buy in an area, in a building, in a location that I knew was going to provide me above average appreciation, so that when I sold that property, when I had my exit strategy and I sold that property, I was able to capitalize off of the appreciation. Okay, I bought with wealth building in mind. Did I buy my dream property? No, I did not buy my dream property. It was far from it. But I bought that property as a stepping stone to start getting me closer to what it was that I actually wanted. Now, when we look at the unrecoverable costs in home ownership versus renting, yes, sometimes there can be higher unrecoverable costs in home ownership than renting. The whole point of the video that I posted was that if your unrecoverable costs, meaning costs that you cannot recover, okay, if they are the same or less when you're renting and you invest that difference, the key word here though is to invest, okay, then you can come out ahead. Historically, on average, yes, there are some areas that are doing very well in terms of appreciation. However, historically, the average rate of appreciation for homes is 3%. That barely keeps up with inflation. If we also look at the average rate of return for the S&P 500, and that's 10%, adjusted for inflation, we'll say 7%, you could actually be losing money by putting your capital and having it tied up in your home if you're only getting a 3% return there, okay? There are lots of factors that you need to be aware of that go into these calculations. The whole point of this is that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to home buying or home ownership or renting, okay? And it's super important to remember that, you know, it might not always be the best option for you. And because I also am a real estate broker, I have helped, you know, hundreds of people buy and sell homes. And I have seen people in situations where I'm like, hey, I wouldn't buy right now if I was you. And you know, that may be counterintuitive. It might be counterintuitive because you're like, well, Nicole, you make commission and you only get paid when they buy a property. Yeah, it does seem counterintuitive, but I'm here to do what's best for people. And sometimes when we look at the numbers or we look at the scenario, that is not the best option for them based on their circumstances. Okay, so how, if you're like watching this and you're like, oh my God, well, how do I know if buying a home is right for me? Here are some questions that I would tell you to ask yourself. So number one is, do you have at least 10% saved up? 5% minimum for the down payment. Now this could change based on where you're located. In the States, I know you could do a 3.5% loan if it's your first home purchase, but we're gonna say, I'm in Canada. So we're going to say on average right now, as a minimum, 5% down. Okay, so you need 5% as your down payment. Then we're gonna estimate about 2.5% for closing costs. And we're gonna estimate about 2.5% as a cushion. Please never spend your last dollar buying a house, okay? Home ownership is expensive. I will tell you, when we moved into our house, we came for our final walkthrough, which is something that I always recommend when you're buying a property. You come in the day before closing and you make sure that everything is in the way that you purchased it. The reason why you need to do this is because sometimes shit happens. And if you wait until after closing, you may have to try to sue the seller to recoup any cost for something that has gone wrong in the home. And you would have to prove that it happened before closing. So we came in the day before closing and we walked into our basement and the entire basement was flooded. The entire friggin' basement was flooded. And it turned out there was a hole like this big in the side of the foundation. There was water pouring through the electrical panel. We needed to get waterproofing. We needed to repair the foundation. We needed to repair the electrical panel. We were able, because we came in and did this walk through the day before closing, we were able to negotiate about $15,000 off the price of the property to pay for all of those repairs. Had we not gone into the property the day before closing, that $15,000 would have had to come out of our pocket. Okay, so when I say home ownership is expensive, you need to expect that you will always have unexpected expenses, so you always need to have a cushion. Okay, whether it's the roof or the windows or the basement or whatever it is, something will always come up, so you need to make sure that you have that money set aside for when those expenses do come up, you are able to attack them head on and not be put into a worse financial situation. Okay, so number one, ask yourself, do you have at least 10% saved up before you buy this property? The number two thing that you want to look at is, what are my long-term plans and what are my short-term plans? Can I plan to hold this property for at least 5 years? Okay, can I plan to hold this property for at least 5 years? Does this mean that you have to live in it for the whole 5 years? No. But does this mean that you should be able to hold it for at least 5 years? Yes. Why? Because there are always, just like the stock market, there are always going to be ups and downs in the housing market, right? When you have to sell, that's when you can be put into a situation where you lose money. If the market is down and you have to sell, you have no choice other than to lose money. So how do you avoid this? By not having to sell, by having a longer term plan for your property purchase. So what you want to do is ask yourself, can I hold this property for at least 5 years? So if you're like, okay, what's my life situation right now? I'm going to get married. I'm planning on having a kid, but I'm looking at buying a studio condo. Does that look like a good idea right now? Probably not, okay? And these are the kinds of things that I would see people doing. Or people that don't go and think about, okay, can I hold this property for at least 5 years? They buy a home, then they get married, and then they have a kid, and they're like, holy shit, this is too small of a space for us. We need to upgrade, but now we have to sell. The costs of buying and selling are very high. Okay, even with the appreciation the way that it has been in the Toronto market, these people would be lucky to lose only a little bit of money if they're buying and selling within a year or two. So that's why make sure you can hold the property for at least 5 years. And maybe some of you are catching on and you're like, but you just said you sold your property in 2 years. Yes. So just because you can have the ability to sell your property in 5 years doesn't mean you have to wait the 5 years if it makes sense, right? If you're in a position where you're like, hey, I could sell this property because it makes sense financially, cool, that's amazing. But do you want to be put into a situation where you're like, hey, I have to sell this property right now because this doesn't fit my lifestyle? No, that's when you could be put in a situation where you lose money. Okay, so you want to ask yourself, do you have at least 10% saved up? Do you have a plan for the next 5 years? Can you hold the property for at least 5 years? And then do you see any changes to your income or earning potential in the next short term? Do you see a situation where you could be laid off? Do you see a situation where maybe you're having kids and you're going to take time off with them and that's going to impact the amount of money that's coming in? Are you taking a sabbatical? Are you taking a 4-month vacation? Whatever it is, you need to understand how your income could be influenced in the future in your ability to be able to pay for this property and your mortgage. Does this mean that you cannot buy a home? No, but it does mean that maybe you don't buy at the very top of your price point. Maybe you buy lower. Maybe you buy a home with a basement rental unit. Maybe you don't rent it out right now, but you have the ability to rent it out later so that if you need to make money to cover those costs because you have reduced income coming in, that you have that money available, that you have the ability to make that money. I know this isn't even talking about house hacking, but house hacking is like one of my favorite frickin' things. If you are thinking about investing in real estate at any point in your life, and you are buying your first property, buying a duplex or a triplex and living in one of the units and renting out the other ones is a phenomenal way to get started, okay? Number one, you can get in and you can get your feet wet with being a landlord. Number two, you can cover all, if not most, of your living expenses, okay? And you have the ability really to go through and see what it's like to be a landlord, and then you can move from there. Keep this multifamily residential property that you bought, this investment property you bought with the minimum down payment because you bought it as an owner-occupied unit, so you don't have to put down 20, 25%. You can put down that 5% or 3.5% if you're in the States, okay? And move on from there and start building your rental portfolio. So that is another amazing way. If you guys have questions about this, you can drop them in the comments. I'm just gonna scroll back up here. I did see some comments that people had and some questions. Let's see here. What about building a home instead of buying a finished home? Is building a home a good idea? I mean, so for where I am, I can't talk about everywhere, but for where I am, a lot of times what I'll see people do is they're like, oh my God, Nicole, I'm gonna like build my own home, or I'm gonna buy this like little crappy bungalow and I'm gonna like knock off the top and I'm gonna build a 2-story on top of it and it's gonna be this amazing thing and I'm gonna save all this money because I'm gonna do it myself. What I have seen is that no, you don't actually end up saving money, okay? But the benefit to this is that you are able to create a custom home. Okay, so if having a custom home and having it exactly the way that you want it, you know, the floor plan is the way you want it, all the finishes are exactly what you want, then building your own home could be a great idea. If you can do work yourself, can you save money? 100%. But if you are hiring out people to handle all of those aspects for you, it could actually end up costing more because of the building permit process, because maybe you get some work done that's, I don't know, not done well. There is a story of a guy in the east end of Toronto who built a top-up on his house, and then I think it was like a foot too tall or something, and his neighbor called and complained, and the city came and made him, I can't even speak today, the city came and made him take down that whole second story and rebuild it, and that is like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars because it was built like a foot too high. So there are some you know, cautions to think about before you go into doing something like that. I think it's super important to remember that it may sound really sexy to go and build your own home, but if you don't want a second job as a foreman, basically managing all these people building your home, it might not be the best option for you. Okay, let's keep going through here. Whoops, I'm commenting stuff. What's happening here? Oh my God, I cannot do this today. Okay, I'm trying to scroll through these and this is not working. Oh, there we go. My husband and I did the same thing. Amazing, Darlene. Are you in Canada? Yes, I am. Perfect. What do you think about pulling out a 401k for a down payment? I mean, so if you are using the plan to pull out of your 401k, and I can't remember what the exact terms of that plan are, like we have a similar plan here where we can pull out of our RRSP, which is a registered retirement savings account. So what you're able to actually do is using the home buyer's plan is take money out of your RRSP and use that for a down payment and then repay that money back into your RRSP over a period of 15 years. This could be a really great idea because you can actually filter your money through your RRSP and be able to save a ton of money on taxes to get some more money back for your closing costs and down payments. So for example, if you made $50,000 a year, and you wanted to contribute to this home buyer's plan, you were buying a home, you had another $10,000 that you were gonna put into it, you could put that $10,000 into your RRSP. I believe it needs to sit there for 3 months, and then you can withdraw the money and then use that as your down payment on your property. But now, because say you were making $50,000 a year, you have $10,000 that you put into your RRSP, you're only going to get taxed on $40,000. So that tax savings from 40 to 50 grand, that's money right back in your pocket that you can use for closing costs or to add on to your down payment or whatever else it is. So you can use kind of a similar strategy with your 401k in the US. What is the interview like in your program? So the application interview, don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of it. It's just more to make sure that what you are looking for is what we provide, and that the energy that you're bringing in is going to be something that's conducive to success for yourself and everybody else in the program. We're really protective over the energy that we bring into the program, and we don't bring anybody into the program who is not going to have massive life-changing success, right? It's not good for me, it's not good for you. I don't want anybody coming in that's like, I didn't get anything out of this program. So I want to make sure that your goals are aligned to what I teach, and that you're also coachable, right? We need to make sure that you are coachable so that you are going to be able to get the most out of this program. So the interview process, it's a 15-minute call, so you submit an application. You have a 15-minute call with our intake coordinator, Taylor. She is incredible, where she'll get to know you a little bit better. She'll ask you some questions about your application. You'll go through all of the details of the program and see if it's a good fit for you or not. We go through the Making Money Moves method. So I mentioned this earlier in the live, but the Making Money Moves method is my 5-step process that I use to pay off my $40,000 in student debt and build a $500,000 net worth in my 20s. So the Making Money Moves method ebook is free, and you can download it through the link in our bio right now if you want to take a look at what it is that we actually teach. We take a different approach to personal finance. So I know we talk a lot about tactic on these Mega Money Monday lives, but personal finance, and this is where I think a lot of programs and people go wrong. Personal finance is 80% mindset and behavior and only 20% tactic. Where a lot of these programs go wrong is they focus only on the tactic, like what accounts to use, what a stock is, how to start investing, but they don't give you the mindset and behavior piece. This stuff here, this tactic, is never going to work if you don't have the mindset and behavior piece down, okay? Because the thing is, most of us know what we're supposed to do. Most of us know what we're supposed to do. We know we should be saving. We know we shouldn't be spending on our credit card. We know we should be paying off our debt, but we're not. Okay, so we need to look at the psychology behind why we're doing what we're doing, the internal money scripts that are running our life, okay, these rules, these quote unquote rules that we have based on our previous experiences that are running our lives, and understand what they are, how they're impacting us, and how do we rewrite them so that we are primed for success going forwards and we can really start hitting all of those goals. If the money comes out of the traditional IRA, the money you pull out is added to your taxable income. Yes, I believe there's a different program for your 401k. You may have to pay a 10% penalty. It depends on the 401k. I have to go back and review the rules for that. Is there an age retirement for your, is there an age requirement for the program? No, there's no age requirement for the program. However, we don't typically accept students into the program. The reason being is you really need to be focusing on school right now, and there are some other best steps for you. So if you are thinking and you're wondering, hey, I don't know if I'm a good fit for this or not, I would say send in your application and the team will do their very best to try to point you in the right direction of what your next step should be. So sometimes there's something else that's better aligned to your goals. Sometimes you need something else first. So we will do our very best to try to point you in that right direction for those next steps. I'm going to get on to these questions that we had from Facebook here. I went on like a little bit of a rant about real estate. I love it. Okay, Canadian here. I'm looking at Wealthsimple. So for my American friends that are joining us right now, Wealthsimple is a Canadian investing app. And I searched for the S&P 500. There's 3 options and I'm confused what it means. I'm extremely new to the whole financial thing. I don't understand any of it. Okay, so you don't go onto Wealthsimple and search for the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is an index of the 500 biggest and best companies in the United States, the 500 most reliable companies in the United States. Okay, they use this as an index or a measure of the overall health of the market. Because if the 500 biggest and best companies in the United States are all doing well, then we can see what the trend is. If they're all doing poorly, then we can see what the trend is. So we don't want to look at, crappy little companies or new companies or whatever it is to see how the stock market's doing overall. We want to look at the biggest and best. Okay, so we have the 500 biggest and best. When it comes to investing, a lot of people like to invest in ETFs or index funds that track the S&P 500. So again, the S&P 500 is just like a list of the 500 biggest and best companies in the US, but you can buy an ETF or an index fund that owns a piece of each of one of these companies, okay, to create your basket of stocks. And now you have a basket of stocks that tracks the 500 biggest and best companies in the US. Some people would say that this is automatic diversification, okay, because you have companies from multiple industries, okay, and you have a little bit of all of them in your portfolio. So what you would want to do is do a search outside of the app. Search for S&P 500 index funds, S&P 500 index ETFs for your specific country, and then review each of those funds explicitly, and then you can search them on Wealthsimple and figure out which one it is that you want to invest in if there's one that you like, okay? The biggest thing I would say is make sure that you're going back and you're understanding what it is that you're investing in and why. Don't just buy into something because you heard somebody talk about it. Okay, make sure you understand and fully believe in what you are investing in and understand where you are putting your money. Okay. The next question here, does anyone know if GICs or mutual funds are worth investing in? I live in Canada and I'm trying to figure out what the best way to save and invest for retirement. Okay, so let's go through a GIC first. A GIC is a guaranteed investment certificate. Okay, these are available from your bank. In the States, this would be similar to a CD. Okay, GICs and CDs, the interest rates on them likely don't even keep up with inflation. Okay, right now I think they're maybe like 1.8%, 1.5% for like a 3-month one. Okay, the reason why, now I want you to remember, high risk, high reward. Okay, so the riskier something is, typically the higher of an interest rate you could potentially earn on it. But just because something is high risk doesn't necessarily mean it's high reward. It could just be high risk. Okay, a GIC is thought to be very low risk. It's guaranteed by the bank. Okay, so you are giving the bank your money. You're saying, hey, I'm going to put $1,000 into this GIC. They're going to give me 1.8%, and in 3 months, I'm going to get all of my initial investment back plus 1.8%. Okay, GICs can be a great investment avenue for short-term goals, for additional cash. So like for instance, I have an emergency fund. My emergency fund is 12 months of living expenses. Okay, do I need to have all 12 months of living expenses 100% in cash? No, probably not. So what I do is I keep 6 months in cash, okay, in my high yield savings account, and the other 6 months I invest into 3-month GICs to earn a little bit of a higher interest rate. My thought process behind this is, okay, I'm never going to be in a situation where I need all 12 months at once. And if I only lock in for 3 months, I should be fine because I have my 6 months in cash to float me if I ever needed to use those additional monies. Okay. In contrast, a mutual fund is like a basket of stocks. Okay, sometimes it has bonds in it, but a basket of stocks that provides you a hopefully diversified portfolio, provides you portfolio options, and usually these are sold by a financial advisor or by your bank. There is nothing inherently wrong with a mutual fund, okay? I don't hate mutual funds, but it's important to understand that mutual funds typically charge a very high management expense ratio. So you pay a lot of money to own these mutual funds. The reason being is they are actively managed. Okay, so you have a fund manager who is actively choosing what investments are going to be in that mutual fund versus something like an ETF or an index fund where it just tracks an index. It's not actively managed, it is passively managed. So for example, an ETF that tracks the S&P 500, it just owns a piece of every company in the S&P 500. There is no forethought into, well, is this a good company? No, it's just, it is what it is. Okay, so because of that, the management expense ratio, or how much money you are paying every year, is much less. A management expense ratio on an ETF could be like 0.07%. Okay, a management expense ratio on a mutual fund could be 2%, 2.5%. I was talking to somebody today telling them about the story of one of my past clients, and she was investing in mutual funds and she was very nervous about investing. She was like super scared. So basically, when she went into the bank and she told them this, they put her in a very, very, very reserved mutual fund, which was basically 80% bonds. But when we looked at the management expense ratio that she was going to be paying, which was like 2.75%, with the expected return that she would get based on how many equities, which are stocks, versus bonds she was owning, she might not have even made any money. She might have just lost money every year because her fees were so high. Overall, it has been said that mutual funds overcharge for underperformance. When you pay for a mutual fund, the fund manager usually says to you, or your financial advisor usually says to you, hey, the management expense ratio, like this is higher, but it's because we're going to get you above average returns. If the S&P 500 returned 10% this year, maybe they're like, well, maybe we can get 12. Maybe we can get 14. Maybe we can get 15. Okay? So they're like, because we're actively managed and we're actively deciding what's in here, we're trying to beat the market. I can't remember what the numbers are right now off the top of my head, but I think it's something like 95% mutual fund managers don't beat the market. So if you are buying a mutual fund because you think it's going to beat the market, it's probably not going to. It's probably not going to, and you are potentially overpaying for underperformance, okay? A lot of times you can get the same results or better, usually better, by just investing in passive ETFs and index funds. So that is it. If you are looking at, okay, well, the difference between not investing and investing in mutual funds, when I say it's better to invest in mutual funds rather than just not invest at all, then I definitely think, yes, get started with a mutual fund. I don't think that there's any harm in going and talking to a financial advisor, but you want to make sure that you understand what you're investing in, because a lot of times these financial advisors will push mutual funds. They will push that bank's specific mutual fund because that is where they make the highest commission. That is where the bank makes the most money. Okay, so you need to make sure that you understand all of this so that when you go in, you can sit at the table with them. You can sit at the table with them and have an educated conversation. Okay, we have a question here. How much and how and where to invest? Way too much, way too much information. This is like, I have a course on this. It's 12 modules. It takes people like 2 months to go through. So definitely cannot go through all that in a live right now. But if you're interested in learning more about that, we have some very basics in our 30 days to 100K free challenge. So you can go on our website, sign up for the free challenge there, or you can check out our paid program, which is the Millionaire Investor, which goes through everything that you need to know to start setting up your investment portfolio. So again, the Millionaire Investor, you can find that on our website, and it's a 12-module self-study program. Do you recommend buying index funds, and how can we go about doing this? Is this also in your course? So my course definitely talks about index funds. It talks about ETFs. It teaches you what a mutual fund is in more detail, how to read a mutual fund and ETF fact sheet, all of that kind of stuff. Sorry if it's in your course. No, don't worry, honey. So yes, we talk about all of that in the course, about how to actually buy that, how to start diversifying your portfolio, why diversification is important, what all these investing terms mean, and how to set it up. So it's really, really super simple and super easy. At the very least, this will give you the information that you need so that you can go and, like I said, sit at the table with the financial advisor and have a conversation and understand what's happening and make sure that your money is going in a place that you know about and are comfortable with. Okay, so yes, you can go about doing that through the course. That's all in there. In terms of buying them, you would go and you would open up an account. Hi, Kenneth. You would open up an account with a brokerage. First and foremost, you want to be doing this through a tax-sheltered account if and where possible. So in Canada, your TFSA, your RRSP. In the States, your IRA or your 401k. Okay. Tell us more about you. How did you get started? Darlene! You guys want to hear about me? Okay. Going back, I did what you were supposed to do, right? I did what you were supposed to do. I went to university. I graduated with crippling student loan debt. I got the 9-to-5 job. And I was looking around at everyone around me, and I'm like, hey, I want to get married. I want to buy a house. I want to pay off my debt. I want to do all of these things, and I can't figure out how the heck anybody is doing it. I'm like looking around, like, how are all of these people doing these things that I feel like I am missing a copy of the instructions to life? I'm like, I did what I was supposed to do, and maybe I just need to make more money. Maybe I need to get a promotion. And I started looking at the people that, were working the next level up for me. And I'm like, well, they don't seem any happier either. They don't seem any friggin' happier. They don't seem to have it all together. And so maybe I need to go up from there and up from there. And I'm looking and I'm like, well, maybe more money isn't the answer. Maybe it's about working with what I actually have right now. So I learned everything that I could about personal finance. I went back, I put that into action. I ended up saving my first $100,000 by 25. I paid off $40,000 of debt in 18 months, and I built a $500,000 net worth in my 20s. Through saving, investing, and real estate. So that's where I am today. If you want to learn more about the method that I teach, again, that's in my Making Money Moves Method ebook. It's free, and the link is in our bio. Talks more about my story there as well. I asked this question earlier about real estate, but I don't know if you answered it. Yes, we already answered that question. So if you want to go back, and I will post that, this is going to be posted after into our IGTV video, so you can go back and actually watch that. Love your stuff. I love you. Thanks for being here. I think we have a couple more questions, and then I'm going to jump off because I do have more appointments today. Do you have classes teaches individual to invest, earn dividends, and do options calls? No. I mean, dividends, yes, dividends are going to come from dividend stocks. If you own ETFs that own dividend paying companies and stocks, then yes, but I do not teach options calls. I don't teach swing trading. I don't teach any of that. For me, I feel like that is like taking your money to the casino, like your life savings, and throwing it down on black, okay? My number one rule is don't lose money. And I feel like most day traders lose money. I mean, if Kenneth is still on here, he can probably attest to how difficult it is to make money as a day trader, and he has spent much time learning his craft. But a lot of people think that they're going to get into swing trading and options calls and all this stuff and make a ton of money. And I think the stats are like 97% lose money. So yes, Kenneth, tell him how it is. I believe buying first home tips, please. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of this video, but I went into a big rant about buying your first home. 90% lose on trading. Yes. Hey, I like your TikToks. I like you, Olivia. So yes, I had some first-time homebuyer tips at the beginning here. You know, the 3 questions to ask yourself if you're thinking about buying a home. So I would go back to the beginning of the video and watch it. I do believe, hey guys, I'm taking her course right now and it is worth every penny. Oh, Annie, I love you. Thank you. I strongly encourage you to apply if you want to change your life. Annie is freaking amazing. She is in this round of the Making Money Moves method. She is doing phenomenally. We actually have her in the last call. I think it's next week, and I'm so sad because it's such a community and it's so incredible, and it feels so amazing to be on these calls with these women, and we're talking about stocks, and we're talking about investing, and we're talking about retirement and all of these things, and it's like, did you ever think, I said this on our last call, like, did you ever think that you'd be sitting here at 8 p.m. one night talking about a friggin' hot stock? Did you ever think that? Do you have friends that talk about that? Do you have family that talks about that? Like, we are your new family. Like, we're your new family. Like, we are here, and we are a bunch of badass women who are getting our financial shit together. Do you want to sit at the freaking table with us? Because why the hell not? Why the hell not? Stop limiting yourself to what society thinks that you're supposed to do. Stop trying to marry a breadwinner and go out there and be the freaking breadwinner, okay? I'm going to look back in here. I think there was another question, and I don't see it. Okay, I'm not sure if there's another question. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll through and I did not see anything. I really wanted to take your advice on credit cards, but it all works differently in Holland, so that sucks. Sorry, honey, I don't know anything about Holland in terms of their specific credit rules. But what I would say is overall, like the mindset and the behavior or whatever, the overall tips and strategies, those should work, but there would be specific things that I can't tell you 100% that would work in every single country. Okay, let's go back here. I have one last question, and then I'm going to jump off. All right, when you invest your money into the stock market, how does it grow and what happens to it? Okay, are you going live again? I go live bi-weekly, Darlene, for Mega Money Mondays. Yay! So when you invest in the stock market, how do you actually make money? Okay, so you put your money in, let's say you put $1,000 into the stock market, you buy $1,000 of shares into an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. Okay, let's say you did that. How do you make money? When those companies grow, when those companies do better, when those companies make more money, their value grows. When their value grows, more people are willing to pay more money for those stocks. Sorry, I've been on calls literally since like 9 a.m. this morning, and I am losing my voice. But basically, yes, as those companies grow and they are worth more, the value goes up, people are willing to pay more to own shares of that company because they make more money. So that is how you make money. It's not like you just put your money in there and then you just get money, like you get money in dividends, right? If those companies do well, they make extra profits. Some of them will share those profits with you as dividends, but not all of them. But essentially you would need to sell shares of that company to be able to retrieve that money. I was trying to be the smarty pants and I got crushed. Okay. Anyways, guys, This has been an amazing Mega Money Mondays. If you are not already in the free Facebook group, get your butt over to Master Your Money and Build a Bank Account That Never Stops Growing. You can find that on Facebook. Post your questions in there. We will take them and answer them on the next Facebook Live. You can go in there and just learn from everybody else that's in there because they're freaking amazing. And we will post this video after. If you have questions, remember, go and post them in that group. We'll answer them on the next live. And if you have not already, go to the link in our bio. Download the free copy of the Making Money Moves method. Again, it's our 5-step process that I took from paying off $40,000 in debt and building a $500,000 net worth in my 20s. So if you want that to be you, then go check it out. And I promise you, it's stuff that you have never read before. Okay? I hope to be somewhat as financially responsible as you. You've been motivating. Yes, let's go, babe. And yes, Kenneth, I will talk to you Thursday. We are going live in our group with Kenneth. Again, Kenneth is a day trader, and he's going to come in and talk about what it takes to actually be a day trader, what it takes to, be in this. I'm losing my train of thought. I'm like, I've been on here for 45 minutes now. What it takes to be a day trader, what it takes to be successful in the stock market, how much money you need to have, how much money he's able to make. He doesn't work like a full-time job. He does his stock trading, and even just talking to him about personal finance and what he finds to be really, really impactful for him in his life. I think that that's going to be amazing, and the ladies are going to love him. So super excited. Love you all. Bye, ladies. Bye, Olivia. Bye, Navi. Bye, Hannah.